Hello class. In this video, I'm gonna go over the example in Zai book. This is the example that has the calculation of the postage cost based on the weight of your letter, and the new concept or more complexity bring into this example is the two arrays. So instead of having only one array, in this example, we are dealing with two arrays. So let's take a look at the code. So the problem is we try to figure out how much a postage cost based on the weight of the letter. So we have two array. So if the letter weight 1 ounce, then the postage cost is 49 cents. If the letter weight 2 ounces, then the postage cost is 70 cents. And if the letter weight 3 ounces, then the postage cost is 91 cents. So we are looking for a cost given the weight of the letter. The user will enter the letter weight, and our code will look for, oops, sorry, I should delete that. Anyway, so the code will look for the cost based on the weight that the user type in. And I changed the number of letter weights, the number of elements in the array from the book. It was 14, so that's too many. I change it to less elements so that it's easy to look at the code. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I should change this in number of element is 6. So how do we figure out the cost based on the weight? We are using a for loop. The loop start with I with the index is 0, and the comparison, the loop conditions is more than just the number of elements. So the first condition is to make sure we don't run outside of the array. The second condition say if we find the weight, then we should exit the loop. So this is an AND condition. Therefore, in order to continue the loop, both operands of this condition must be true. So I must be less than num elements, and we have not found the weight. So before the for loop, we initialize weight found weight to be false, and found weight is a Boolean variable. So we initialize to false, assuming that we have not found the cost yet. That makes sense, right? Before we execute a loop, we say, I don't know what the cost is, so I assign the weight. The found weight is 0 or false. I haven't found it yet. Until I find it, I will change it to true, right? And we compare user weight, that's what the user enter, with an element in the letter weights array. The letter weight arrays say it could be 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 3 ounce. So when we find the letter weight that the user enter that is less than or equal to the weight in this array, we say we found the weight. So we turn the flag, or we change the flag from false to true. We say, oh yeah, we found a weight. So we change this flag to true. And if we found a weight that is less than one of these elements, then we say found a weight, and then we use the same index variable I. We say if that's the weight we found, then this is the cost. So we have two parallel array. One represent the weight, the other one represent the cost. So we found a way, and then we use the same index variable. We say if that's the weight we found, let's say if we find the weight right here, then the cost will be 91 cents. And let's say the user enters some really the weight is really outside this range, then we may not be able to find the weight, or found weight is never turned true, but we may need to exit the loop because I is equal to or greater than num element. And in that case, if we exit the for loop and found not found weight, okay, notice that this is a not condition. So how do we make the not condition to be true? So if this is false, then not false is true. If this is false, that means we never execute this line and found weight was initialized to false before the for loop. That's why this is true. So the letter we say, if we couldn't find it in the array, that means we couldn't find the cost. So we say the letter is too heavy for the USPS first class mail. So let's run this code and I make some changes. So I need to say save, and then let's say I want to enter some weight that is in the list. So let's say I want 1.5, see how much the cost is, right? All right, so 1.5, that's my weight in ounce. And if you look at this array, 1.5 is between these. But the way that our program works, or the way that the post office work, is if it's more than this and less than this, then your cost is the next level or the next weight. So that's 70 cents. So 1.5 is greater than 1, so you cannot pay 49 cents for a letter that weigh 1 ounce because it's more than 1 ounce. But it's still less than 2 ounce, so you still need to pay 70 cents. And how did we find it? Well, we find it because the letter weight, the first element is 1. So the letter weight is 1.5, right? So it's not greater than, it's not less than the first element. So we don't execute this loop. We skip this if completely, and we increment I by 1, but we go back and check the loop condition before we execute this loop body. We check the loop condition, right? When I is 1, this is what we're looking at. I is 1, I is 1. The letter weight, user letter weight, is less than or equal than letter weight index 1. So 1.5 is less than this. So we found it. This is true. This is true. We change the found weight flag to be true. We say, yeah, we found it, right? So we found it. Then we say, okay, we found it at this index. What's the cost for that index? The cost is postage cost right here. That's 70 cents. That's the index number 1. So we use the same index variable and we say that's how much it costs. That's 70 cents, right? So let's run a case where the weight is beyond the letter weight and see what it say. The letter weight 6.7. I know it's beyond the size, right? So it's a letter is too heavy for USPS first class mail because it's 6.7. So we keep going. This condition is never true. The last element we have in here is only 5.0. That's the weight. And if we reach the end of the array, and then I is 6, then this condition is false and we don't care about this condition. This is the AND operator. That means for the whole thing to be true, you need to have both operand. The first operand must be true and the second operand must be true. We learned this in the if-else statement in the previous chapter, some of the early chapter. So if this is false, we're gonna exit the loop, even though this is still true. So when we exit the loop, files has never been changed to true. So it's still false, like the way, like it's in the value before we execute the for loop. Then we come down here, and if found is false, found weight is false, not found weight is true. So what we look at is this whole expression is true. And I think this is very confusing for beginner, because when you see the not and then you try to figure out how does it work. You don't care whether not or without no not, you don't care what it is. You just look at the whole expression. This is the whole expression. So we can break it into two parts. One part is found, oh, sorry, one part is found weight. So if found weight is false, then not false is true. So the whole thing is true. But if found weight is true, then not true is false, and the whole thing is false. So that's how you look at it. You just look at the value of that Boolean variable and figure out, is it true or false? In this case, it is false. Then what is not false? Well, not false is true. So if this whole thing is true, we're gonna execute this. We print this statement. Letter is too heavy for USPS. In the Viva's case, we found it, so this is false, so we never print this. And that brings me to the end of this video. So thanks for watching.